Good evening, everyone. This video is going to be a trading review and support session for June the 1st, 2022, our first trading day of June. So let's kind of review. We did have some news today and this morning, so let's just review the news real quick as we're experiencing it. So overnight, we had we didn't have anything overnight. At 6:45, we had final manufacturing PMI. Right, it came in a little bit light, right, and then at 7, we had ISM manufacturing. It came in a little bit high. Construction spending was down though. I mean, it was up month to month, but in this time of year, it's usually up more. So the forecast was to be up 0.7%. And ISM pricing came in hotter, which kind of bodes to the inflationary environment that we're still in. Uh, Also, Canada raised their rates to 1.5%. No, no surprise there, and it won't be a surprise when we raise our rates as well. So there was a little bit of news. It was kind of interpreted negatively, but prior to that, let me pull that down and let's take a look at the big picture chart first. So prior to um, the that news, I'm trying to get to the open. Looks like the opens about there, right about there, and it ran up into R1, right, and then it pulled back. So even before the news, and then after the news, and which was announced about here, and it's already pulling back, right? A little squiggling around, and then it was pretty much negative from there, right? So it did kind of catch hold around S2, about 9:45, and then it came back up some, but then it came back down. So it ended up being a something of a down close day, right? So we'll see what's going to end up doing. So it started out with medium volume, and it kept building as it kept going. And so as we look at the daily chart now, then what the day ended up being is looking like that, right? So this was Friday, pulled back some on Tuesday. This is today, right? So it pulled 2 pullback days. So we'll see if it see what they're inclined to do tomorrow. As long as it's got reasonable volume, then we've been doing fine. So here's that initial push, right, at the opening, and I'm certainly trying to not trade during those first 3 minutes, and I didn't, but I tried to catch a rebound. So here's my first trade, right? So I tried to catch a rebound, but it didn't want to go to that area yet. So I let it come back, didn't add. There was nothing here to add, right? No bars here to add until it got to the EMA, right? And so the EMA hit here, right, on with an up bar after a couple of few bars, and then I got out here, pull back a little bit more to the EMA. So I'm flat with profit. Pull back to the EMA again, was shooting up, and so I got a trade here, and it went up nicely. So a few trades, and then it came up, made a new high, but then this thing came along, very big down bar suddenly, and so I was watching it. Didn't really want to take a trade too early, so I didn't, and I ended up maybe too late. But I didn't know what's going on. These big bars are indicative of it's not being very happy, and so I did take a trade here, right, a short trade here, and made money. I'll come back and look at the blue boxes when we're done. I just see if I can find all my trades. It's hard to see these arrows sometimes. So there's a trade here, right? So we're definitely back under the fast zone, under the EMA, underneath the 3-minute average. It kind of came up into here, right? So it was being rejected underneath, coming underneath the 3-minute close. So traded that, came back again, Watched it a little bit, maybe a little bit too long, a little bit, maybe a little bit late on this trade, but you know, traded a short again here, made money there, and now we're into the coffee break time, and I'm watching it, and let's see, no trades here. I got fooled here. Spend a second talking about this. Right. So I'm thinking, and it is kind of in the push kind of time frame. The one thing is it has already pushed. That's one observation. And I'm thinking that might push up some more. I mean, the AVR, as you can see, was pretty positive. But the mistake I made, and you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I bought right in. I'm not sure I knew that the Globex high was there, you know, when I was looking at it. And sometimes you don't see everything, but I did. I bought right into the Globex high. And so, but you know, it's kind of pushing, right? So it's like, okay, well, maybe I can do something prior to the news coming out. Remember, we did have 7 o'clock news, and so I tried to, you know, it's kind of at the 3 minute moving average here in this fast zone is kind of popping up. So I tried it long here, right? So I would have needed, I think I needed to get out. The first one was going to be out at the volume point of control. I think that's where it was, and I did not quite make it. And so I wasn't going to fool around too much. News coming in, showing signs of negativity again. So I reversed, you know, somewhere in here, right? Kind of watching it. It's not bouncing. Kind of coming into the starting to come into news time. So I added one here, and then it's really close to news. And so you know the news, and I was kind of sweating it because right before this news, right, which had construction spending and that kind of stuff as well, the dome got really kind of crazy there for a moment. But I kind of hung in there with it, and it got me out of you know, fairly soon, right? Got me out of two pretty quickly, and then ultimately came back down and got me out of the last one, somewhere in here, right? Maybe it was here for the two, and then it came back and got me out for the one. So anyway, but you know, made all the money back from this reversal, plus a point or two. All right, so now we're after 7, right? So again, we're not you know necessarily doing too well here, and I took a short trade here, right after it's coming, you know, after nothing is happening here, it's running away from the 3 minute close underneath the EMA, so I took a short trade there. So then you know my profits are starting to collect at this point. I think I made. I'm trying to find. Well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm starting to be. I think what was going through my head was this time frame. This time frame is sometimes not a friend of mine, right? So, but it is trying to push that direction. So I didn't take any trades in there. So I'm waiting a little bit, trying to be a little bit more conservative, waiting to add to profits. And so boy, I didn't. Oh, there it is. I know it took something somewhere. So it took a trade here ultimately as it was kind of, you know, breaking down through the Globex low, making new lows. So that one worked. I mean, so I could have been a little bit more aggressive. And like I said, this could have been a 20 plus point day. I ended up like 18 and a half or something like that. So took the trade there, short. Yeah, it's pretty angry, right? So I'm kind of waiting to see what it's going to do around the 718 to 720 time frame. It never really does much, right? So I got into another 2 unit trade here, right? When just not bouncing, right? So I started here, kind of bounced back up into the EMA. I added to it here, and I was out there, right? Does the same thing, coming back up to the EMA and the 3 minute moving average. So again, I'm a little bit slow. I'm kind of wondering about this market, but I take a trade here, and got out. Some of these I think I'm only taking for 1 point, And let's see, I'm not done trading yet. I got one more to go. So up in here, right? So I thought maybe that was the multi-unit. Got one more trade here, right, and out pretty quickly. So I think that was my last trade. Um, 15 points here. I took one other trade a little bit later on, and I'll show you where that was, or at least I think it was. I don't think I marked it, but it was. I know it was in a blue rectangular area. All right, so those are the trades. Any questions on that or any of those, or I'll go back and I'll review these highlighted areas. I mean, in terms of the hour that I spent trading, I beat the results you would have had just trading the blue box kind of areas. Um, but if you just kind of hung in there and worked for 2 hours, for instance, you could have probably come close to being equal results. All right, so for being super patient, right? Nothing in here we can do, right? We got to wait till something is happening, hopefully in combination of the EMA and the 3 minute close, or at least something reasonable. This is kind of flat. So here's the first one, right? Here's the 3 minute close. Here's the EMA. It's breaking above it. So that was a good trade. Then we had to wait. Had to be super patient, and so nothing here, right? Because it's so far up, right? It's not super overbought, so far up. So it kind of finally kind of does it's not really grabbing here. I don't like to trade during in the fast zone. So I think I took it maybe a little bit late. You could have maybe taking it, out here, but then this is the 3 minute moving average. But it's not very happy, right? See the big bars coming down. So I did mark this kind of area. Maybe you could have taken it in here. I took it down here, right? All right, so then there's the trade. Then you got to be super happy, waiting for things to kind of line up again. And so at this point, right, it's around um, the fast zone, but it's still a little bit above the close. I mean, the 3 minute moving average, right? So maybe you could have taken. I mean, I did. I didn't mark this one as a high probability trade because it was kind of going into the VWAP there. But it kind of comes up again, still being rejected by the fast zone, still coming down, and now we're pretty much underneath everything, and just including VWAP, you just got to get out prior to the daily bias, and I think I did, or on the daily bias. So that was a blue zone. Now you got to just kind of wait again. I certainly didn't want to take a counter trend trade during this time, right? The market's not very happy. Just kind of, and its news time is coming up, so you just kind of had to be patient and wait. Ultimately, these same type of areas are holding, right? And maybe you want to wait till we clear the daily bias again, which leaves this area as a possibility. Hopefully, getting out prior to the 2 by 200, even though it was angry, it came right back down. And then you just have to sit and wait for sometimes long periods of time. And I didn't trust this time frame, and I didn't mark anything in this time frame either. None of them were, going in to do all session lows. I'm a little bit skittish about trading into all session lows. Sometimes I do it, but I really have to kind of have a feel for it. And so nothing was marked here because of that. And then ultimately we get another confluence of the 3 minute close and the moving average, right? And so this would have been a pretty good area. I took that trade. Again, it's being. Let me get a little bit more perspective, right? Still can't get up to the fast zone. Moving average is coming down. The EMA is coming down. So I think this one, was above this 3 minute close, but it's already starting to break down. So I think that one is okay to do. I mean, because it was close to the fast zone, just in case you had to reverse or something. And let's see, I did mark, and I didn't trust anything to the upside. All right, here we come again, right? The fast zone is extremely narrowed down, right? We're kind of breaking down. The EMA is right there, so that's a high pretty high probability, right? Same thing here. It's pulled back up, kind of going sideways under the 3-minute close, under the EMA. Those are kind of pretty good areas. I've already stopped trading, but if you take kind of all of these high probability kind of areas, right, you could have come close to matching maybe my results. And I could have gotten more if I just wanted to trade more. Maybe I should have. Again, we're underneath the 3-minute, pulled the 3-minute average, coming down, and we're getting some good bars in the down direction there. Same thing here, moving 3-minute close here, right? The EMA is not too far away. I mean, it hit it here, and it's just on its way back down, right? So anywhere maybe in here, right? Ultimately, it would have worked. Same thing here, 3-minute close, EMA, down bars, closing down there, and that's likely the last one I marked. I think it was probably one of these that I ended up taking for another 1.5. So I ended up what was up 15, ended up 16.5, with with okay profit factor, nothing to write home about. All right, so as long as there's some activity and reasonable volume, I mean, we're kind of making a lot of money. It's when the volume kind of lightens up that we probably need to be really cautious. But right now, it seems to be, as long as there's some volume, a little movement, don't care which way it is, right? We're making pretty reasonable money. All right, any questions on that at all? The changes were software 8.5. Okay, so this is a fairly good area maybe to do that. So one change. Okay, so the changes that we made in 8.5. One, the EMA, right, which used to be a separate indicator, is now in the short-term trend analysis. And that's the biggest change. What that allows is to use the EMA as one of the filters for the paint bar. So now, for instance, if the paint bar is, or if we're above, it depends on the EMA direction. All right. So sometimes, so this changed directions and it evaluates every bar. So this bar did change the direction of the EMA. So this bar becomes cyan, right? So prior to that, right? See, we're here and we're above the flexes, right? So you can't get a magenta bar if you're above the flexes, even if you're below the EMA, right? So it has to wait. So it's above the flexes, and then it gets above the EMA, so it turns cyan. Now we know not to take that trade because it's right into there, so we just have to wait. Right, so it's kind of fluttering around. So now it's underneath the ultraflex, right? But and the fast flex, but fast flex is still going up. So the paint bar is waiting for things to align, right? It's waiting for it to align. Now, when we get this arrow, right, and the arrows are also filtered by EMA now. So it helps eliminate some of these wiggles that we were getting before. So now the flexes are aligned, and this bar, the EMA could have been, it was probably negative even back in here, probably, right? Because it changes every 5 seconds. But surely here, right, everything was aligned, and so the bars turn magenta, right? So back again here, I'll just go through a little bit of time. Back here, it has to turn white back to neutral because it's in ultraflex, right? It's above ultraflex. It comes back under ultraflex. Fast flex is still coming down, and the EMA is negative. So we go back to magenta, right? Back above ultraflex, right? White comes back to magenta when it gets underneath, when it gets some alignment, right, in the direction. So those are the biggest changes, right? So the EMA is in the same indicator It's just in the short-term indicator, and we can use it. You can select it or deselect it. It's under your control to use that as the paint bar, and to also filter the up and down arrows, right? So see I mean we got ultra flex and fast flex alignment over here, right? But no arrows because it's also using the EMA as a screen. So you're not going to get the fast arrow, the up arrow, until you get a magenta. I mean a cyan bar. Those are the biggest changes, right? And kind of the all the changes that affect the short term trend. The other thing is the inclusion now in the time analysis of both the 1 minute and a 3 minute ATR. And we're kind of using that before, so let's kind of go through that earlier example because um, I was looking at it. So here's the 3 minute moving average way up here, right? And here's the 1 minute ATR. We've been coming down, and the let me see if I can even. I'm trying to find it. So because the reason it's hard to find is because it's in the fast zone. So here's the 3 minute ATR, right? I'm just kind of see if I can point them out here, there. So we have been underneath the 3 minute ATR for some time, right? And then the 1 minute ATR was let me kind of go back because I'm thinking about maybe a different area. Here's the 1 minute ATR because this is kind of when I was saying, well, it's been oversold for a while and it's kind of been going sideways, so it could. So this is one of those. This is one of the areas. Let's talk about this one, then we'll go forward a little bit. This is one of the areas. So here's the 3 minute ATRs from above, right? So we've been. And this is kind of still relatively early, right? We're underneath the 3 minute ATRs. And here's the 1 minute ATRs, right? And we're kind of down there, and the 3 minute closes are pretty are pretty tight. So this is an area they were thinking about it. They potentially could, right, go up, right, but they weren't. So you have to wait. If it's not doing it, you don't take a trade. In fact, I ended up taking a short trade. So it's not ready yet, right? So but you could have been watching to see. You really wanted to break out one way or another. So here we're still underneath the 3 minute ATR, right? And now we're under the 1 minute ATR again, right? And so now what could it do? Now it's in the middle part of the hour, right? So it's hit the 1 minute ATR again, right? So now and you kind of want it to break out of the certainly at least a 3 minute close, maybe even wait to the EMA. In this case, the EMA was quite a ways. But as you can see, when they came after it with volume, and you had to wait until they come after it with volume. When they came after it volume, it went some, right? And it went sideways and kind of went up a little bit more. I think there was a better, yet another example a little bit later, right? No, they never really. I mean, it's now it's bouncing from the 3 minute ATR. So this was the beginning of the as good as an up move as it did for a while, right? Kind of thought about it, and then it broke out of the fast zone going up, kind of as a result of. I mean, if you're kind of looking at it, I mean, here the S1 held it, but kind of as a result of it kind of getting pretty oversold. It doesn't mean it can't stay oversold for quite some time, but once it gets into an oversold condition and it appears as though it is trying with some volume to go the other way, you need to be cautious. Those were the major. I think those were all the changes in the 8.5, just to kind of dial in the paint bar a little bit and show another example, meaning the 1 minute ATR of kind of being pretty oversold and or pretty overbought. Works the same way, whether it's oversold or overbought. You know, you get into that condition and you have to wait until they have changed their mind and want to go back the other way some. You don't take a speculative trade, and you're kind of cautious both ways until it shows you what it wants to do. I think that's everything, Sean. The biggest issue for me, biggest change, the biggest benefit for me, of course, is the short term trend indicator changes. Kind of pulls a lot of these things together, so you don't have to. The paint bar kind of forces you to take a look at this. And if you just go back and take a look at paint bars, it's even better. All right, anything else? Okay, very good. All right, let me get this video going, and have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow. All right, have a good night.